You visualize every day. You close your eyes. You try to see the life you want. Money flowing in, bills paid, freedom knocking on your door. But deep down, something seems wrong. You open your eyes and everything is still the same. Your account is still in the red. Opportunities don't come. And no matter how much you insist, the universe seems silent, as if it were disconnected from you, as if it didn't hear your requests, your images, your intentions. There is a silent pain that many carry, but few can name. It is the pain of striving spiritually and still staying in the same place. The frustration that arises when you give your all in the practice of visualization, but nothing changes on the outside. It is as if you are trying to trick your own unconscious, and it, wiser than you imagine, refuses to believe. You visualize, but your body doesn't feel it. You imagine, but your vibration doesn't follow. Napoleon Hill said that all wealth is born twice, first in the mind, then in the physical plane. And that is where many get lost. Because imagining is not vibrating, dreaming is not magnetizing, visualizing is not closing your eyes and wishing hard. It is much more than that. And perhaps, until today, no one has explained to you clearly why 97% of people fail in this practice. They think they are creating, but they are only feeding the absence. Joe Dispenza warns, the brain does not distinguish reality from imagination, but the emotional body does. And if your body vibrates fear, lack, urgency, it does not matter what you think. Your vibration will speak louder. It will shout what you are trying to hide. The universe does not respond to your images. It responds to your state. And if your inner state says, I do not have, no visualization will be enough to create the I am. There is an invisible conflict between mental desire and emotional frequency. You want abundance, but you vibrate doubt. You desire money, but you feel fear. And when this happens, visualization becomes just a failed rehearsal. It does not generate magnetism. It does not generate reality. It only reinforces the distance between what you want and what you are. That's why this video is not about seeing what you want. It's about emotionally living what you decide to become. Because what you feel consistently, you attract. The universe doesn't respond to your visual effort. It responds to your quietest vibration, the one that comes from your body, the one that pulses in your field when you're not trying to force anything. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're losing faith, but there's a new path, a deeper, more real, and more integrated way of visualizing, a path that unites neuroscience, energy, and practical spirituality, not to promise you a quick miracle, but to show you that when mind, body, and emotion align, reality responds. And now, let's start where it all really begins. In the invisible error that makes you visualize scarcity, thinking you're creating abundance. You close your eyes and start imagining a beautiful house, a full bank account, travel, freedom, tranquility. But inside, something tightens. A discreet, almost imperceptible fear, as if that image so beautiful and desired were too fragile to stand on its own, as if at any moment reality would remind you, this is not for you. And it is at that moment that your visualization ceases to be creation and becomes disguised scarcity. What no one tells you is that visualization can be sabotaging you, silently. Because when you imagine wealth with fear of not having it, when you build mental scenes trying to escape from what you feel now, you anchor your body in absence. You are not vibrating creation, you are vibrating lack. And this happens without realizing it, because desire is accompanied by the memory of what is not yet. Intention is born together with comparison, and your field, sensitive and intelligent, captures this mixture. The mistake is not in desiring, it is in desiring with fear, in visualizing with anxiety, in dreaming while carrying the weight of doubt. The image you create may be beautiful, but if the emotion that accompanies this image is of insecurity, need, or urgency, your body is not fooled. And if the body does not believe, neither does the universe, because the magnetic field that emanates from you does not respond to the image. It responds to the energetic truth that you carry. Visualizing, then, requires more than just closing your eyes. It requires presence. It requires emotional surrender. It requires that you be anchored in the vibration of what you want to experience, and not in a desperate attempt to escape what you are feeling. The mental image is only powerful if it is sustained by a coherent vibration, and this coherence is what transforms visualization into magnetism. Without it, everything you create mentally dissolves into thin air. So if you have been visualizing every day, but feel more tired than inspired, more frustrated than energized, perhaps you are visualizing absence. Perhaps instead of creating the new, you are reinforcing the old. Not for lack of faith, but for lack of vibrational awareness. And this awareness begins now, with the courage to realize that the body does not lie, and that all true creation begins when you decide to feel what you want to experience, not just imagine it. You feel enthusiasm for a few seconds. The image is clear. You see yourself receiving, having, realizing, but soon after, your chest tightens. That familiar but never welcome feeling arises. A restlessness that seems to say, what if it doesn't happen? And then the invisible cycle begins. You visualize to feel good, but the anxiety of not seeing results destroys everything you have just built. And what should be a creative act becomes a vibrational field of demand. That is when the rebound effect arises. The human mind was programmed to seek reward, but when the expectation becomes greater than the energy of creation, the body goes into vibrational collapse. You start expecting too much, too soon. You become obsessed with when and forget how am I now? And this activates the same circuit in the brain as frustration. Dopamine shoots up, but without coherent action, it turns into emptiness. And this emptiness becomes an energetic hole that sucks up all your intention. Visualization, without the right energy behind it, becomes a desire begging to be seen. But the universe does not respond to the begging. It responds to the frequency of those who already feel connected to what they desire. And the cruelest detail is that the more you cling to the idea that you need to manifest quickly, the more you vibrate the absence. Because haste comes from fear, and fear communicates to the field that you are not ready yet. This is not your fault. It is part of an ancestral programming. We live in a fast-paced, immediate world. And this world has taught us that if something does not happen soon, it is because it is wrong. But in the language of energy, linear time does not matter. What matters is the internal state. The universe does not measure deadlines. It feels pulses. And the strongest pulse you emit is that of vibrational coherence. If your visualization is accompanied by anxiety, it becomes subtle self-sabotage. It seems like creation, but it is desperation. It seems like spirituality, but it is attachment, and this generates a devastating sensation. You try hard, but nothing changes. You insist, but everything remains stagnant. And the reason for this is not in the universe. It is in your field, in your body, in your vibration that has been contaminated by the urgency to have, instead of the confidence to be. Visualization is an act of presence, not desperation. It is a silent ritual where you merge with the energy of what you desire. No pressure, no rush, just pure vibration. When this vibration is cleared, without anxiety, the field begins to respond, and what previously seemed blocked begins to flow. Not by magic, but by realignment. And this realignment begins when you understand that anxiety about the result is a poison for creation. Because it breaks the link between intention and action. It paralyzes the body, disturbs the heart, and contaminates the spirit. And once you realize this, something in you changes. You begin to visualize, not to achieve, but because you already feel. And this feeling is the true code for manifestation. Have you ever tried to turn on a light bulb without connecting it to energy? No matter how intact the bulb is, without electricity, it remains dark. The same thing happens with your visualization. You can create the clearest, most detailed, most inspiring images. But if the body is not energetically involved, nothing manifests. Because the body is the conducting wire. It is the field that transforms images into vibrations. And without vibrations, there is no field. Without a field, there is no new reality. The mind is the beginning, but it is not enough. The brain can be convinced by images, but the body only responds to feelings. And if you are only creating mentally, but are not feeling in your body what you want, then your visualization is like a disconnected light bulb, full of potential, but without light. And the universe responds to the light, to the frequency, to the emotional signal that you emit, even without realizing it. The electromagnetic field you generate is born from the sum of what you think and what you feel. But the most powerful part is not in the thought, it is in the feeling. The heart has a magnetic field 5,000 times stronger than the brain. And that is why visualizing without emotional coherence is like trying to manifest without electrical energy. You may be doing everything right mentally, but if the body is vibrating in scarcity, insecurity, doubt, or fear, the message sent to the universe will be confusing. This incoherence creates blockages, crossed vibrations, contradictory signals. You want wealth, but feel insecure. You want freedom, but vibrate fear. And the field responds to what is strongest. And what is strongest is usually not desire. It is the unconscious emotional pattern that you have carried in your body for years. The one that was built on past experiences, silent traumas, family repetitions. That is why many people, even practicing visualization with dedication, remain stuck in the same reality. Because they are trying to change the external without realigning the internal. They are creating with their minds, but their bodies are still stuck in the old. And the body is the true engine of a manifestation. If it doesn't believe, nothing moves. If it doesn't feel, nothing is attracted. If it doesn't vibrate, nothing materializes. The secret to effective visualization is not in the power of the image, but in the depth of the feeling that accompanies it. The field doesn't respond to words. It responds to pulses, to sensations, to subtle vibrations that come from your body like a silent language. And this language only becomes clear when you are completely in it. When mind, heart, and action are in the same rhythm. When the mental image is just a reflection of what already lives within you. And that is the key. Bringing your body into the visualization. Feeling in your chest what you want to see in your eyes. Breathing the energy of what you desire, as if you were already living it. Because the field doesn't need external proof, it needs internal congruence. And when this congruence is achieved, manifestation ceases to be a distant promise and becomes a natural consequence. Have you ever noticed how some people talk about abundance, but act as if they were on the brink of scarcity? They say they believe in prosperity, but they always choose the cheapest option. They live in fear of spending. They hesitate when faced with any possibility of expansion. This disconnect between speech and action reveals something profound. It is not what you desire that creates your reality. It is what you live. And your behavior always betrays the true frequency of your field. Always. When you pretend to be rich only in your mind, but act like someone who is trying to survive, the universe understands the real message. Because it does not respond to the words you say or the images you project. It responds to what you vibrate with your choices, and choices are born of beliefs. If you still make decisions based on the fear of lack, then it is this fear that is controlling your frequency, not the image of abundance that you try to visualize. There is a brutal difference between imagining and incorporating. Imagining is free. Incorporating has an energetic cost. Because incorporating requires alignment. It requires that you make decisions as someone who already believes in abundance, even before it arrives. And this is uncomfortable because it challenges old patterns, financial traumas, fears that have been inherited, experienced, confirmed throughout a lifetime. You can spend hours creating mental scenes of wealth, but if when the moment comes to act, you hold back, protect yourself, save out of fear, avoid investing in yourself, then your vibration is telling the universe, I don't trust that it will come. And this message is stronger than any visualization because the body has already decided. And when the body decides, it creates. This incoherence between mind and action blocks the flow. It's like trying to run with one foot on the brake. You try hard, but you don't get anywhere. You study, learn, meditate, visualize. But deep down, you live in containment mode. And the universe notices, Because the energy of containment is the opposite of the energy of creation. Creating requires space, movement, decision, and those who vibrate as poor, even with good intentions, end up attracting more of what they fear. This is not a criticism. It is an invitation to awareness. Notice how you have been acting, not what you have been thinking, but how you have been behaving. Because behavior is a reflection of your vibration, and changing your vibration starts by changing your small gestures, your small choices, the way you treat yourself, how you invest in yourself, how you react to opportunities for expansion. It's not about spending on impulse. It's about vibrating with confidence, living as if you already know that you are being sustained by the abundance of the universe. Because this security changes your field, it transforms your posture, and it makes visualization stop being a mental exercise and become a natural expression of your vibrational identity. And when this happens, you don't need to pretend to be rich. You already are, because your energy has already decided, and the universe responds to this decision with absolute precision. Sometimes, looking to the future can seem too distant, intangible, almost like a dream that you observe from the window but cannot touch. That's why the technique of reversing the mental script has proven to be so powerful. Instead of visualizing what you want as something that is yet to happen, you imagine yourself looking back as if it had already been experienced. This subtle inversion changes everything because it activates in the brain not only the desire, but the emotional memory of the achievement. When you visualize as if you had already had the experience you desire, the reticular activating system, that part of the brain responsible for filtering information and validating your perception of reality, starts to act as if it had actually happened. And the body, which responds to this emotional memory, begins to vibrate coherently, because there is no more expectation, there is recognition, there is no more doubt, there is a record. This inversion is more than a technique. It is a vibrational code, because it removes the feeling of distance between the you of now and the you that you want to be. It dissolves the gap between wanting and having, and what once seemed improbable begins to seem familiar. And what becomes familiar becomes attractive, because the universe brings closer what your field already recognizes as possible. Visualizing looking back generates a different kind of feeling. It is not the anxiety of expectation, but the gratitude of achievement. And gratitude is one of the highest frequencies that the body can emit. When you feel gratitude for something that has already happened, the field understands. This is real. And it is this internal reality that begins to manifest itself in the external world, not by magic, but by coherence between image, emotion, and biology. Imagine yourself remembering the moment when you received what you wanted so much. See yourself telling someone, smiling, feeling that warmth in your chest that only fulfillment brings. See the details. Feel the environment. Notice your body in that place. And then something happens. You stop wishing and start recognizing. And recognition creates magnetism. It communicates to the universe that the frequency is already installed, that the field has already been accessed. This technique breaks the mental timeline. It takes you out of waiting and puts you in vibration. Because when you look back, even within a visualization, you activate the feeling of certainty, and certainty is the basis of vibrational faith. Napoleon Hill said, "Burning desire plus faith plus persistent action equals fulfillment." And this faith is not blind. It is biological. It is energetic. It is emotional. When your body believes, the universe responds. When the emotion is real, the image is fixed. And when the field is coherent, manifestation is only a matter of time. Not because you are trying to convince the universe, but because the universe has already recognized in you what you wish to receive. And this only happens when visualization stops being a request and becomes a living memory. Some bodies learn to reject abundance as if it were a risk, as if having more were threatening, as if having too much could somehow hurt, lose, or push away. This is not rational. This is ancestral. It is emotional. It is cellular. Many of us have been conditioned from a very young age to associate prosperity with suffering, guilt, or loss. We grew up hearing that money corrupts, that wealth attracts envy, that wealth is for the few, and the body, which absorbs everything, has engraved this as truth. So even when the mind desires abundance, the body repels it, not out of malice, but out of protection. It has learned that growing financially is dangerous, that receiving too much can generate rejection, that being successful can arouse anger or abandonment. And this body, programmed by memories that you may no longer remember, begins to block opportunities before they even present themselves. It is an unconscious reflex, a vibrational defense. These blockages cannot be dissolved with just positive affirmations or superficial visualizations. They need to be seen, acknowledged, felt, because as long as the body is in a state of resistance, every image of wealth will be met with tension, fear, or sabotage. And the universe, sensitive to vibration, respects this. It will not force upon you what your field still rejects, because the universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what your body allows to receive. Many financial traumas manifest as subtle self-sabotage. You postpone decisions. You refuse invitations. You avoid receiving. You make excuses not to grow. And all of this seems rational, but it is deeply emotional. These are the invisible scars that say, it is better not to try than to fail again. It is better not to have than to lose later. It is better to have a little that is certain than a lot that is uncertain. This type of programming needs to be healed with presence, with compassion, with patience. It is not about forcing the body to accept what it rejects. It is about talking to it, to embrace pain, to show, with new experiences, that it is safe to prosper, that it is safe to receive, that you can be abundant without losing love, without losing your essence, without repeating the past. Because when the body learns that abundance is safe, it relaxes. And in this relaxation, visualization really begins to work, not as an effort, but as a reflex. The field opens, the energy circulates, and that which seemed blocked begins to flow. Not because the mind tried harder, but because the body finally allowed it. True abundance begins when the body stops fighting, when it stops defending itself from what you most desire. And this moment, when it happens, is subtle, but it transforms everything, because the field notices, the vibration changes, and the universe responds, not from effort, but from permission, from release, from reconciliation with that which, deep down, you have always been. There is a profound confusion between dreaming and visualizing, and this confusion is one of the greatest traps on the path to conscious manifestation. Dreaming is comfortable. It is escapism disguised as hope. It is imagining what you want to escape from what you are experiencing. But visualizing, in the most authentic and powerful sense, has nothing to do with escape. It has to do with vibrational responsibility, with active presence, with the silent commitment to emotionally live what you choose to co-create. When you visualize only as a temporary relief, an emotional refuge, your field understands that that image is just an escape, a distraction from what is. There is no vibration of creation in that. There is only compensation, and compensation does not generate magnetism, because the universe does not respond to momentary relief. It responds to sustained vibration, one that is aligned with action, with coherence, with emotional surrender. Visualizing requires spiritual maturity. It is not a childish exercise of pretending that everything is fine. It is a sacred practice of realignment. It is looking at what is difficult and still choosing to vibrate in what you want, not as denial, but as transcendence. It is like planting seeds in dry soil. It requires faith. It requires repetition. It requires commitment to the invisible. Dale Carnegie said that acting enthusiastically generates enthusiasm. This also applies to the world of energy. When you visualize with dedication, with presence, with true intention, your field heats up, it adjusts, it opens. Visualization stops being an image in your mind and becomes a pact, a code sent to the universe with a vibrational signature. But this only happens when you take emotional responsibility for what you are vibrating. When you stop waiting for the mental image to change your reality and start changing your frequency so that reality changes in response. The difference is subtle but profound. One is passive desire. The other is active creation. One is escape. The other is alignment. Visualization, then, is a gesture of power, an intimate ritual where you declare to the universe, "I choose to vibrate as if I already were." And this choice, when sustained consistently, reprograms the body, the field, the destiny. It is not immediate. It is not magic, but it is real. And when you begin to visualize not as someone who expects, but as someone who decides, reality begins to respond with a new language, a language that is no longer about promises, but about answers. Before creating anything, the soil needs to be prepared. A seed thrown into hardened soil, full of noise and waste, is unlikely to germinate. The same goes for visualization. Before forming a mental image, it is necessary to create space. Silence the field. Empty the inner cup so that something new can truly be born. This silence is not absence. It is a portal. It is an opening for the subconscious mind to receive, process, and manifest with clarity. Few people understand the power of silence before visualization. They sit down, close their eyes, and immediately start creating scenes, forcing feelings, seeking sensations. But the field is still agitated. The mind is full. The body is tense. And in this state, visualization becomes just another layer of noise. There is no depth. There is no fixation. The image does not enter. It floats, disperses, dissolves before touching what really needs to be touched. The subconscious mind does not respond to speed. It responds to vibration. And the most receptive vibration is born of stillness. When you become silent inside, something in you opens up, as if a new layer of perception emerges. And it is in this layer that the mental image can become permanently fixed, not as an illusion, but as a vibrational code, like a living seed. This silence is not just a technical prerequisite. It is a spiritual act, a gesture of respect for that which one wants to create. Because before receiving, one must make space. And making space is an internal process of surrender, of pause, of slowing down. When you enter this state, your body relaxes, your mind slows down, and your heart becomes more audible. And it is in this state that the right image arrives, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. Most visualizations fail not because of the image created, but because of the vibration from which they originated. When you visualize in the midst of internal chaos, the image carries that same chaos. It arrives fragmented, anxious, unstable. But when you visualize from silence, the image is born with roots. It anchors itself, and that which anchors itself grows. It creates form. It creates a field. Silence is the space where the invisible begins to become possible. And this space is sacred. It is not the absence of thought. It is presence without distraction. It is a state of deep listening, of energetic openness. And it is in this state that true visualization happens. Not as projection, but as reception. Not as effort, but as revelation. Allowing yourself to be silent before visualizing is like aligning the instrument before playing a note. The music vibrates better. The frequency is organized. And what was just an intention becomes a clear message to the universe. And the universe responds. Because now, finally, there is room for the new to enter. Imagine a glass full of cloudy water. No matter how much you try to pour something new into it, there is no space. The new liquid mixes with the old, becomes contaminated, and loses its purity. The same happens with the mind and heart when they are full of old emotional memories. When you try to visualize something new while still vibrating the weight of the past, the energy does not settle, the image finds no place, and the universe does not recognize the intention as true. Visualizing is more than creating images. It is being available to feel differently, to live differently. And to do this, you need to empty yourself. Empty yourself of everything that no longer serves you, of all the pain that has already served its purpose, of all the beliefs that have grown old. Emptying yourself is a spiritual act. It is not passivity. It is preparation. It is like cleaning the altar before lighting a candle. It is respect for what is about to arrive. Many people try to manifest something new without realizing that they are still vibrating emotions from 10 years ago. An abandonment, a loss, a failure that was never processed. And while these old vibrations continue to occupy the field, everything new arrives weakened. It arrives and leaves, or it simply doesn't arrive, because the field still says, "I'm busy." To empty oneself is not to forget, it is to integrate. It is to look at the pain and say, "I honor you, but I no longer need you as an identity." It is to let go, not out of disdain, but out of gratitude, because even what hurt, taught, even what failed, prepared. But now is the time to make space, and space is made with choice, with breathing, with awareness. The metaphor of the full glass reminds us that abundance is not just about receiving more. It is about letting go of what no longer resonates, because as long as you are vibrating hurt, resentment, anger, the feeling of injustice, the universe will hear this music. It will respond to this frequency, and no matter how beautiful the images you create, they will not have the power to cancel out the prevailing vibration. Therefore, before visualizing, observe your field. Feel your body. Is it light or dense? Is there space or is it overloaded? What is still occupying your inner altar? What is still holding back the flow of that which you so desire? Emptying yourself is a movement of trust, of surrender, of telling the universe, "I am ready for the new." Act. And this newness does not come in a hurry. It comes incoherently, with respect for the space you have created, with resonance to the lightness you have decided to sustain. And when this lightness takes hold, the visualization gains new strength, because now, finally, there is space for it to truly blossom. There are times when 2 minutes can be worth more than entire days of effort. 2 minutes in a state of full presence, in real connection with the image you want to live, can create such an intense vibration that your field expands immediately. And this is precisely what happens when you learn to activate specific regions of the brain linked to emotion, memory, and identity. The thalamus and the limbic system, when stimulated correctly, transform visualization into a bodily, emotional, almost tangible experience. The thalamus works as a sensory integration center. It filters, organizes, distributes everything that reaches the brain, images, sounds, sensations, passes through it. And when you create a visualization rich in sensory details, the thalamus interprets it as real, not as a fantasy, but as a legitimate stimulus. This means that the more vivid your image, the more real it becomes neurologically. And when the brain accepts something as real, the body begins to respond to that reality with coherence. The limbic system is the emotional center of the brain. It stores affective memories, traumas, deep joys. It is where the meanings that you attribute to life reside. When you visualize by activating the limbic system, that is, involving true emotion, sensory memory, affective involvement, you transform a simple mental scene into a powerful vibrational experience. And that is what makes the image stick. Record. Enter like a living seed into the subconscious. 2 minutes may seem like a short time, but when used with intention and awareness, they become a key to accessing the energy field. During this short period, all that matters is the feeling. Your breathing deepens, your body loosens up, your heart aligns, and you become, even if only for a moment, the future version of yourself. That version that is already living what you desire, that has already felt, that has already experienced. It is in this state that the field opens up, that the frequency rises, that the request ceases to be a desire and becomes a signal, because the universe does not respond to repetition. It responds to intensity, to vibrational clarity, to real presence. And 2 minutes well lived, with your heart engaged and your body aligned, can be worth more than hours of disconnected visualization. When you activate the thalamus with sensory images and the limbic system with genuine emotion, the brain convinces itself that it is already happening, and the body, which follows the brain, begins to vibrate as if it were actually living it. It is this coherence that transforms the invisible into the possible, the future into the present, and visualization into vibrational reality. It is not about time, it is about the quality of presence. And when you learn to access this state consistently, manifestation becomes a consequence. Not through effort, but through alignment between image, emotion, and vibration. And that is where the real miracle begins to take shape. Not on the outside, but on the inside, where everything really begins. Many believe that all you need to do is imagine to create, that thinking positively is enough, that dreaming frequently equals attracting intensely. But the truth is more subtle and more demanding. Passive visualization, where you only mentally observe scenes of abundance, without bodily presence, without action, without vibrational involvement, is just a daydream. It is like looking at a photograph, waiting for it to come alive. It will not happen, because the universe does not move by superficial intention. It moves by deep coherence. Passive visualization is an elegant trap. It gives the false sensation that you are doing something, that you are co-creating, attracting, moving energy. But behind this practice, there is often only escape, a desire to skip steps, to manifest without changing, to receive without transforming. And this is incompatible with the vibrational logic of the universe, because the universe does not deliver what you desire, it delivers what you become. For visualization to work, it needs to be accompanied by action, not necessarily an immediate external action, but a constant internal action. A vibrational gesture, a change in behavior, an energetic decision that says, I am already in motion. Even if the external world has not yet responded, even if nothing has changed on the outside, visualizing is rehearsing internally what you want to experience externally. It is tuning your body to the field you want to access. And this does not happen in a passive way. The mind can even be content with images, but the body demands vibration. And vibration is born from interaction, from presence, from emotional involvement. You have to feel, you have to be there, not as an observer, but as a participant. Active visualization is the one that changes your state, that alters your breathing, that changes your posture, that makes your heart beat differently, that provokes a shiver, a warmth, an internal silence. It is alive, it is real, even if it is still invisible. And when this state is repeated consistently, the field begins to recognize the new frequency as a pattern, and everything around it begins, little by little, to reorganize itself. The law of attraction, without the law of action, is vibrational sabotage, because it creates expectations without structure, desire without roots, dreams without foundation, and what is built without foundation collapses. Therefore, do not be fooled by practices that seem beautiful, but do not affect your energy. Observe the effect of your visualization. Do you end up more inspired or more frustrated? More connected or more distant? More alive or more tired? The answer to these questions reveals everything, because true visualization is a ritual of alignment, and this alignment does not accept superficiality. It demands truth, presence, integration, and above all, it demands that you stop waiting for the universe to do the work alone, because creation begins within and only blossoms outside when you are already energetically committed to what you want to experience, not as a desire, but as a choice already made, already felt, already assumed, with the whole body and the soul completely. At first glance, it seems logical to imagine what you want: the car, the house, the prosperous bank account. But there is something much deeper behind vibrational creation. True manifestation does not respond to the object. It responds to the sensation that the object symbolizes, because the universe does not connect to the form but to the frequency. And the frequency is not in the image. It is in the emotion that the image represents to you. You don't want the car. You want the feeling of freedom, of being able to come and go, of choosing your path. You don't want the money itself. You want security, tranquility, the lightness of not worrying about tomorrow. You don't want your dream house just for its aesthetics. You want the warmth of a home, the peace of a refuge, the energy of belonging. And if you start to visualize only the object without connecting with what it really symbolizes, the vibration becomes shallow. It becomes loose. It doesn't create true magnetism. Visualizing the vibration is going beyond the form. It is diving into the essence. It is feeling the emotion behind the desire. It is forgetting what you want to have and remembering what you want to feel. When you do this, your field changes because now it is not asking, it is emitting, and whoever emits is already living, even if it has not yet materialized. But in the vibrational universe, the energetic experience precedes the physical materialization. Always. Feel the freedom before you see the car. Feel the autonomy before you see the bank balance. Feel the comfort before you see the house. Bring inside what you are trying to achieve on the outside and see how the frequency changes, how the body reacts, how the emotion rises. Because now there is no distance, there is no lack, there is presence. There is active vibration, and it is this vibration that the universe understands as a sign of readiness. Many people get frustrated because they visualize with rich detail, but without any emotional depth. They create beautiful but cold scenes, perfect but disconnected images. And no matter how many times they repeat these images, they do not generate a field, because the body does not feel. And if the body does not feel, the field does not vibrate. And if the field does not vibrate, nothing is attracted, because attraction is a direct result of the emotion you sustain, not of the image you create. The secret is simple, but powerful. Visualize the vibration, not the object. Look for the feeling behind the desire. Immerse yourself in the emotion that dream represents. And then, even though the object has not yet manifested, you are already vibrating as if it were present. And this emotional presence is the true code of manifestation, because when you feel as if it already is, the universe begins to respond as if it already is. And it is in this space between feeling and having that the silent miracle happens. The universe does not speak Portuguese, English, or any other human language. It speaks vibration. And within this silent language, emotion is the clearest word you can emit. It doesn't matter how much you repeat mantras, affirmations, or intentions. If your body is not feeling, the field does not capture it, because the universe does not listen to what you say. It feels what you vibrate. And what you vibrate is born from the emotion you carry while you speak, think, or imagine. Neville Goddard said with simplicity and depth, "Feeling is the secret." Not wishing, not thinking, not waiting, feeling. Because feeling is the true transmitter. It carries the energetic signature of your intention. It is what transforms an ordinary thought into a magnetic signal. It is what gives vibrational weight to what would be just a mental image without roots. Emotion is the code that opens the portals. But not just any emotion. Coherent emotion, authentic emotion, the one that is born from the heart, runs through the body and spreads throughout the field. This emotion creates resonance. And resonance is the most powerful mechanism of manifestation because it attracts what vibrates at the same frequency, without effort, without begging, without mechanical repetition. When you deeply feel something you want to experience, your body changes, your breathing transforms, your posture adjusts, your gaze softens, and without realizing it, you begin to behave like someone who already lives that reality. This behavior, even subtle, generates vibration, and this vibration shapes the field around you, like invisible waves that touch everything nearby and slowly redesign the scenario of your life. But when emotion is absent, no matter how many times you repeat, "I am prosperous," the universe hears, "I doubt," because the emotion hidden behind the phrase is doubt. It is fear, it is haste, and these emotions speak louder than any verbal statement. That is why many people say one thing, but vibrate another, and they get frustrated, because they do not understand that the universe responds to what is strongest, and what is strongest, almost always, is what is most hidden. The language of the universe is emotion, and the more you master this truth, the simpler everything becomes. You stop trying to convince the external and start educating the internal. You start cultivating feelings that support your desires. You start becoming what you want to attract. And this process, although invisible, is deeply real. Because in the vibrational world, emotion is direction, emotion is strength, emotion is creation. So if your visualization still isn't working, maybe the problem isn't in the image, but in the lack of emotion, of surrender, of sensitive presence. Withdraw, be silent, and ask, what am I really feeling when I think about what I desire? The answer to this question reveals your real vibration, and once it is recognized, it can be transformed. And this transformation, in the end, is all you need to manifest with truth, with soul, with consistency, because the universe always responds to what you feel deepest, clearest, truest. Not all visualization is born of expansion. Many, in fact, are born of lack, of fear, from the unconscious attempt to escape from what one no longer wants to experience. And when this happens, the field does not feel creative. It feels defensive. It feels urgent. It feels resistance. And the energy of resistance will never be the same as the energy of manifestation. It is necessary to take an honest look at the origin of your desire. Is it born of trust or necessity? Is it a movement of alignment or a cry for help? Because that changes everything. The same dream can vibrate at completely opposite frequencies depending on the emotional intention that sustains it. And it is this intention, this silent pulse, that determines the type of field you are feeding. There is a powerful question that can reveal this origin. What am I trying to avoid with this desire? This question disarms the ego. It takes the attention away from what one wants and shines a light on what one fears. Because often, the desire for abundance is not a love of expansion. It is a fear of scarcity. The desire for freedom is not genuine inspiration. It is an escape from imprisonment. And the universe listens to what is most charged with emotion. And what is most charged, almost always, is the unseen fear. The most powerful visualization is the one that is born of love, not urgency, of certainty, not doubt, of the confidence that you deserve, and not the insecurity that you need. When you desire something like a movement of connection with your highest self, the field opens. But when you desire something to escape your current state, the field closes. Because it feels the rigidity, it feels the pressure, it feels the silent desperation. Therefore, before visualizing, look with compassion at your intention. Acknowledge your pain. Yes, honor your need, of course, but do not build the new on top of old fear, because what is born of need carries the frequency of lack, and what is born of expansion carries the frequency of creation. The difference is invisible to the eyes, but glaring to the universe. The process of manifestation begins in the heart, in the vibrational origin of your desire. When this origin is clean, clear, loving, everything around it organizes itself. The mental image strengthens, the emotion aligns, the body responds, the field vibrates, and the universe, like a sensitive mirror, reflects what you are emitting. Not in a hurry, not with obligation, but with fluidity, because now you are not trying to escape from anything. You are simply choosing to be who you really are. And this choice, silent and firm, creates more than words. It creates reality. Hurry carries a specific sound, a sound that cannot be heard with the ears, but that the field feels. It is the sound of demand, of insecurity, of doubt disguised as urgency. And when someone visualizes in a hurry, trying to convince the universe that it is time, what this vibration really communicates is fear. Fear of not being able to do it, fear of not being heard, fear of being late. But fear, even when camouflaged in spiritual practices, is still fear. And fear does not create, it just repeats. The frequency of creation is silent. It does not rush, it does not struggle, it does not beg. It simply emanates. Like the sun, which does not try to shine, it simply shines. And those who are in tune with this frequency emanates without haste, because they trust, because they understand that the time of the soul is not the time of the clock, that manifestation is not a race, but a dance. And in this dance, those who despair lose their rhythm. Visualizing in a hurry is like shouting in a temple. The sound becomes noise, the vibration breaks, and the field, which responds to subtlety, closes. Because haste is not a sign of readiness, it is a sign of imbalance. It reveals a mind that has not yet understood that the universe does not need to be rushed. It needs to be aligned, and alignment cannot be forced. It is allowed. The fear of waiting creates ghosts. It makes you believe that you are falling behind. It makes you look at others and feel like you are lacking. It makes you measure your life with the ruler of the external world. But manifestation does not happen through comparison. It happens through coherence. And every time you visualize with the anxiety of someone who needs to convince, your frequency moves away from what you want, because the universe does not listen to your "I want." It listens to your "how I am now." And if your now vibrates with urgency, scarcity, impatience, that is what echoes in the field. And the field returns it, not as punishment, but as correspondence. So observe your haste. What is it trying to protect you from? Is it saying that you are not worthy yet? That it is too late? That others are luckier? This haste is just a disguise for pain. An elegant way of saying, I am afraid of not being chosen. But you don't need to rush. You need to trust. Because what is yours by vibration is not delayed. It is not lost. It is not confused. And visualization only becomes true when it comes from the silence of certainty, from the gentleness of surrender, from the firmness of trust, not from the urgency of someone trying to prove something. Haste is the daughter of doubt, and doubt is the daughter of disconnection. When you reconnect, doubt disappears, and with it, haste dissolves. And what is left is a clean space, a fertile field, ready to receive not only what you want, but what you are already ready to be, without haste. But with truth, the human energy field is profoundly influenced by small rituals, by gestures that seem insignificant, but that are repeated with intention. And that is where micro-visualizations come in, short, discreet, but powerful moments in which you reconnect your internal state to that which you wish to manifest, without effort, without excessive ritualization, just presence, just conscious vibration throughout the day. You are washing the dishes, and for 2 minutes, you imagine yourself in a prosperous home where everything flows smoothly. You are walking down the street, and for a few steps, you feel the freedom of someone who already lives from their own abundance. You are on public transport, looking out the window, and there, in that moment, you breathe like someone who knows they are on the right path. This is the power of micro-visualization. It does not interrupt the day. It harmonizes the day. By practicing these small activations, you are not forcing a new reality. You are accustoming your body to a new frequency. You are teaching your nervous system to become familiar with sensations that, until then, were seen as distant. And when the body gets used to it, the field accepts it. Because the body is the soil where the vibrational seed takes root. The more it recognizes a state as natural, the more it begins to vibrate that state without resistance. Gentle repetition is more powerful than intense effort. It is not about doing a 30-minute visualization once a week. It's about creating dozens of brief moments throughout the day that communicate to your vibration. This is possible. This is mine. This is already within me. And the more natural this becomes, the more magnetic you become, because now there is no more emotional distance between you and what you desire. These small visualizations don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be detailed. They just need to carry the right emotion, the right feeling, the compatible vibration. And this vibration begins to shape your reality in an almost invisible way, because the field doesn't need grandiose proof. It needs consistency, energetic repetition, sustained frequency. The micro-visualizations work as reminders from your higher self, like subtle nods from the universe saying, remember who you are becoming. And this constant reminding is what keeps you from falling into the same old patterns. It rescues you from distractions, from anxieties, from the noises of the day, and brings you back to center, to focus, to vibrational intention. This is how, with simple and repeated gestures, the new begins to take hold, not as a revolution, but as a transition, as a movement that grows from the inside out, without haste, without drama, but with truth, and with a presence that, little by little, transforms your entire energy field into a living magnet for what is already waiting for you on the invisible plane, just waiting for you to say yes, with your whole body and with a heart at peace. Many people believe that they are co-creating their realities, but in reality, they are just reacting to external circumstances. They visualize, affirm, and desire intensely, but deep down, they remain in a state of passive waiting. They wait for the universe to bring something new, while they continue to vibrate at the same frequencies of scarcity, fear, and doubt. This attitude reveals a disconnect between what is mentally desired and what is emotionally felt. True co-creation requires a profound internal change. It is necessary to align thoughts, emotions, and actions with the reality that one wishes to manifest. This means taking full responsibility for your own vibration, recognizing that every thought and feeling contributes to the construction of external reality. When you visualize with emotional coherence, your body responds, your breathing deepens, your heart calms, and a sense of certainty sets in. This coherence creates a powerful magnetic field capable of attracting experiences aligned with the new vibration. It is in this state of alignment that manifestation occurs more fluidly and naturally. Therefore, effective visualization is not just a mental practice, but a state of being. It is living, feeling, and acting as if the desired reality were already present. It is this integration between mind, emotion, and action that transforms desires into concrete experiences. By assuming this level of vibrational responsibility, you become the conscious creator of your reality, emitting frequencies that resonate with the experiences you wish to attract. And it is in this state of alignment and presence that the true magic of manifestation happens. Many say they want to change. Many claim to be ready for a new life, a new reality, a new vibration. But without realizing it, they continue to inhabit the role of emotional victims. They remain trapped in internal narratives that place them as hostages to circumstances, the past, people, and the world. And in this state, all visualization loses strength because the victim does not create. The victim waits. The victim does not vibrate with autonomy. They vibrate with dependence. Visualizing requires vibrational self-responsibility. It requires that you abandon the habit of blaming the external, that you stop waiting for someone to release your blessing, for the weather to change, for the scenario to improve. Because the universe does not respond to passive waiting. It responds to the active vibration of those who have decided to be co-creators. And being a co-creator is a state of presence where every emotion, every thought, every gesture has a purpose. When you visualize from the role of victim, what your field emits is not creation. It is lack. It is regret, disguised as hope. It is desire, wrapped in pain. And the universe feels this. It feels that, behind the image of prosperity, there is still a vibrational identity of those who do not believe they are worthy of prospering. And this identity, even silent, dictates the main vibration, and therefore, the results. Co-creating is different from begging. Co-creating is different from waiting. Co-creating is taking the wheel of your own energy field. And this requires a decision to get out of the role of victim and enter the frequency of those who recognize their own power. Not the power to control everything, but the power to choose how to feel, how to position yourself, how to align yourself. Even when the external world does not yet reflect this new state. This is where many get stuck, because leaving the victim position is uncomfortable. It requires looking inside with courage, facing the pain, forgiving without accepting excuses, changing without guarantees. But it is precisely this movement that opens the portal of manifestation, because the universe does not deliver what you ask for. It delivers what you are ready to sustain. And sustaining a new reality begins with the choice to stop living like someone who needs to be saved, and start living like someone who has already understood. Everything starts with me. Everything vibrates in me. Everything responds to me. And in this new internal place, visualization ceases to be a mental effort and becomes a mirror of the vibrational identity that you have decided to assume firmly, with gentleness, with truth. The body is the territory where everything happens. The mind can imagine, the heart can dream, but it is in the body that vibrational decisions are registered. And when we talk about visualization, this truth becomes even clearer. Because visualizing is not just a mental act. It is a process of deep reprogramming of the body. It is teaching the cells to feel something new. It is realigning the nervous, hormonal, and energetic systems with the identity you wish to manifest. The brain thinks, but the body decides. And often, while the mind visualizes prosperity, the body is still stuck in the old pattern of scarcity, a pattern that was formed over the years by difficult experiences, emotional repetitions, and burdened memories. And this body, programmed to survive, responds with resistance to anything that seems too new, too big, too unknown. This is why, even with consistent spiritual practices, many people keep repeating the same cycles. Because they are trying to convince the brain, but they have forgotten to talk to the body that fears, that guards, that resists, the body that has become accustomed to little, to the difficult, to the effort. And this body silently sabotages any attempt at change that does not involve a deep vibrational re-education. Reprogramming your body requires presence. It requires time. It requires patience. It requires teaching you little by little that it is safe to thrive, that it is safe to feel abundance, that it is safe to trust. And this happens not only during visualization, but also outside of it. The way you walk, the way you breathe, the way you speak, the way you take care of yourself. All of this is a constant conversation with your field. Every gesture sends a message. Every choice reinforces a pattern. And if your body is still vibrating against what your mind desires, the field will be in conflict. And this conflict prevents the universe from responding clearly, because it does not understand divided messages. It understands coherence. It understands consistency. It understands vibrational truth. And vibrational truth only arises when mind, heart, and body are saying the same thing. When desire is no longer just a thought, but an embodied state. Visualizing is then re-educating the body. It is teaching it to feel the new as if it were natural. It is creating new neurological pathways, new emotional memories, new energetic reflexes. And this begins with subtle choices, with the decision not to react as before, to not repeat the same response, to observe the impulse and breathe differently, to walk with more presence, to look at oneself with more dignity, to treat oneself with more love. When the body begins to accept the new state, everything changes, because the body is the base of the field, and the field is the channel of manifestation. Without a body, there is no sustained frequency. Without sustained frequency, there is no new reality. But when the body becomes an ally, visualization ceases to be a mental exercise and becomes a living, constant, non-negotiable vibration. A vibration that the universe immediately recognizes as true and therefore responds without hesitation, without confusion, without delay, because now everything is aligned. And where there is alignment, there is creation. There is an image that carries ancient wisdom, the rising sun. It does not ask permission to rise. It does not doubt its light. It does not run to reach anyone. It simply appears. And when it does, everything around it transforms. The darkness recedes. Life reorganizes itself. The energy changes. And it does this not because it needs to be seen, but because it simply is. The sun does not seek to be accepted. It simply radiates. And in this silent irradiation, it becomes a symbol of true creative vibration. Visualizing is, in essence, becoming like the sun. It is stopping emitting frequencies of demand, of need, and starting to emit the energy of someone who has already understood that they are a source of light, of magnetism, of frequency, of manifestation. Those who attract do not need to ask, do not need to prove, do not need to run after it, because they are already vibrating in what they desire. They are already what they seek. They already carry the seed of what they want to harvest. Many visualize as someone who asks, but true creators visualize as someone who emits, as someone who activates, as someone who expands. And this difference is subtle, but vibrationally immense, because the field does not respond to begging. It responds to silent certainty, to the frequency of those who have already decided, of those who have already assumed their energetic position, of those who have already accepted that they are not only a recipient, but also an emitter. When you visualize from this place, something in you aligns. Your posture changes. Your breathing stabilizes. Your gaze becomes firmer, but also lighter. There is no more rush. There is no more suffocating expectation. There is only a present vibration. And this presence is magnetic, because it is not trying to convince anything or anyone. It simply exists. And in existence, there is already creation. Becoming like the sun is abandoning the vibrational identity of scarcity. It is stepping out of the role of someone who needs it and stepping into the role of someone who already is. It is stopping waiting for external signs to feel complete. It is accepting that the light you seek is within you, and that the universe, like a sensitive mirror, simply reflects this light back. Naturally, coherently, inevitably. The energy of someone who attracts is not noisy. It is constant. It is stable. It is silent. And therefore, it is powerful. And when you incorporate this energy into your visualizations, you stop trying to manifest and start to incarnate. You stop desiring and start to be. You abandon the role of seeker and take the place of source. And the source does not depend. It emanates. It offers. It sustains. It attracts. Without effort. Without noise. Only by the vibration that you decide to carry, and by knowing in silence that the universe always responds to that which becomes non-negotiable within you. Sometimes, what separates years of frustration from a turning point is just a detail, an emotional detail, an almost invisible adjustment in the way you feel, not just in what you think. There is a story that illustrates this profoundly, the story of a man who visualized every day for years. He saw the house, he saw the car, he saw success. He repeated the scenes with devotion, with faith, with discipline, but nothing changed. Life continued the same. Challenges piled up. Money didn't flow. And he began to believe that something was wrong with him, that perhaps he wasn't worthy, that perhaps visualization was a beautiful but ineffective illusion, until one day, exhausted, he stopped. He stopped trying to convince the universe. He stopped repeating the scene like a robot. He stopped insisting, and in the silence of exhaustion, something new emerged. He realized that he was always visualizing success coming, always putting himself in the shoes of the one who was waiting, the one who was receiving, the one who was longing for something that was yet to come. And at that moment, like a silent snap, he made a small change. Instead of seeing himself receiving, he began to see himself giving. Instead of imagining himself achieving success, he saw himself sharing his success with the world, feeling the satisfaction of already living it, as if it were already real, as if it had already happened, as if it were a memory. And it was in this change of vibrational direction that everything began to change, because he stopped seeing himself as someone waiting for something and started seeing himself as someone who was already living it. This emotional inversion had an immediate impact on the field. The vibration changed, the anxiety disappeared, the body relaxed, and in a few weeks, doors began to open. Money started to arrive. Opportunities arose. Reality finally began to respond. What changed? It wasn't the desire. It wasn't the image. It was the vibrational posture. He stopped imagining himself as a beggar and started visualizing himself as a channel, as a being who already is, who already feels, who already delivers. This change, however subtle it may seem, is what separates frustrated visualization from coherent manifestation, because the universe responds to what you are energetically, not to what you just mentally desire. When you visualize as someone who already lives, something changes in time. The future stops being a promise and becomes an internal state. And this state reorganizes everything. You stop creating from lack and start creating from presence. And in this presence, the flow opens, because now the field recognizes in you not a request, but a confirmation, A vibrational identity that does not wait, does not doubt, does not beg. It just is. And that is enough. It always has been. True visualization is a pact, an energetic pact between who you are now and who you are becoming. And this pact is not sustained only by mental images. It requires coherent emotion, internal alignment, a silent surrender where identity, frequency, and action come together in a single movement. It is not about imagining. It is about incarnating, feeling in the body before seeing in the eyes, inhabiting the vibration of that which has not yet manifested itself, but has already been accepted, felt, chosen. This is the difference between those who visualize as an aesthetic ritual and those who visualize as an energetic choice, because the first desires, the second vibrates, and the universe responds to the vibration. Napoleon Hill was clear: burning desire, plus faith, plus persistent action, achievement. Desire is not enough. You have to believe with your whole body. It is necessary to act in a way that is consistent with what one desires, because faith without action is fantasy, and action without ardent desire is routine. But when these three elements come together, manifestation becomes inevitable, because there is no more internal division. There is only alignment. Rhonda Byrne spoke about feeling as a compass, and it is true. But without understanding the biology of feeling, feeling becomes nothing more than an empty mantra. It is important to remember that the body is where emotion takes root. It is there that vibration takes root, that the field is shaped, that the world begins to spin differently. Because when you feel truthfully, the universe listens with precision. Many people visualize themselves as vibrational beggars, as those who ask, as those who wait, as those who try to convince the invisible to materialize. But few visualize themselves as creative channels, as sources, as conscious transmitters of a new reality. And it is this difference that transforms the process. Because those who ask vibrate need, but those who create vibrate certainty. Before I close, I leave you with a question. One of those questions that you don't answer right away, but that echoes. What does your mind desire? Does your vibration support? Because sometimes what you want hasn't arrived yet. Not because you don't deserve it, but because your vibration isn't ready to support what you want. And that's not judgment. It's just an invitation to expansion. Visualizing isn't anticipating the future. It's tuning into the now. It's aligning your heart with your vision. It's preparing your body to receive without fear. It's silencing your mind so that your intuition can guide you. When this alignment happens, there's no way the universe can ignore it, because you've become your own signal, your own answer, your own reality. In the next stage, we will conclude this journey with the closing vibration, a farewell that does not end, but that silently plants the code of the new identity that is now beginning to blossom within you. You have come this far carrying questions, desires, a hunger for change. Perhaps in the silence of your visualizations, you have wondered why life has not yet responded. Perhaps you have doubted your strength, your connection, your worthiness. But now, there is a new understanding settling within you, a silent but firm truth. Manifestation is not a gift that arrives from outside. It is a reflection that is born from within. Visualizing is not pretending to have and then feeling. It is feeling before having. It is transforming the body into a home for that which you want to receive. It is tuning into what you desire until desiring becomes unnecessary, until you realize you are no longer asking. You are being. You are inhabiting the frequency. You are emanating a new vibrational signature, and that is why the field begins to respond. You do not need more effort. You need more alignment. There is no need for more details in the visualization. You need more emotional truth while visualizing, because the universe does not read images. It feels vibrations, and the clearest vibration you can emit is that of presence, of inner peace, of the silent certainty of someone who has already recognized themselves as a co-creator. Look inside and realize everything you sought was already waiting for this state, not for an unattainable perfection, but for this internal choice to stop begging for frequency and start radiating presence. What you want will not come because you insisted. It will come because you allowed it, because your vibration stopped fighting against time and started vibrating in union with destiny. Now is the time for the vibrational farewell, but not for the message, because it continues with you, with each breath, with each silence, with each new thought that carries the seed of abundance. The wealth you seek begins now, not as something that arrives from outside, but as a new vibration that is born within. If this touched your soul, keep this phrase in silence. I am source, not absence. And when you need to remember it, close your eyes, not to escape from reality, but to create from within it the vibration that will make it new. And then, calmly, you will see the universe was already listening. It was just waiting for you to vibrate with truth. And now you vibrate. And because of that, you are ready. Visualizing is feeling before having, not pretending to have in order to feel later. Perhaps you have realized throughout this journey that visualization has never been about control. It has never been about manipulating the universe, forcing reality to bend to your desires, or using mental strength to try to convince the invisible. True visualization is a reconnection with feeling, with being, with the internal state that vibrates the new, even when the world still seems old. Visualizing is not painting pictures in the mind. It is igniting frequencies in the body. It is establishing a silent pact between identity, emotion, and action. A pact that says, I am already what I chose to live. And it is in this choice that reality begins to respond, not because it was pressured, but because it was recognized. The universe does not deliver what you want. It responds to what you vibrate with constancy, with presence, with truth. Napoleon Hill said, burning desire, plus faith, persistent action, fulfillment. And each part of this equation matters. Desire without faith becomes frustration. Faith without action becomes fantasy. But when these three pillars meet, alignment is born. And in alignment, there is no more doubt. There is presence. And presence is the clearest vibration of creation. Rhonda Byrne reminded us that feeling is the compass. But if you do not understand the biology of feeling, you become a slave to frustration. Because you feel wrong, you vibrate the opposite, and you think the problem is outside. But it has always been inside. It has always been in the difference between vibrating as an energetic beggar or vibrating as a creative channel. So now stop for a moment and feel. Your mind may even desire something, but is your vibration ready to sustain it? Does your body already welcome this reality with comfort? Does your field already recognize this as natural? Because in the end, effective visualization is not born of effort. It is born of silence, of a ready body, of a peaceful mind, of an open heart. And in this state, wealth does not just respond. It recognizes you as the source, and effortlessly, it returns home because you have finally stopped waiting and started being. If this has touched your soul, let this frequency grow within you, not with noise, but with constancy. And may you repeat each new day, even if silently, I am the field, I am the vibration, I am the answer, because now you are vibrating as one who already knows. Reality is only the reflection of your deepest presence. And in this presence, everything becomes possible.